funds or managing public resources. So whether this is your first time here or you have been a part of this community for years upon years, know that your presence matters here this morning. In our diversity, we find strength. In our gathering, we cultivate belonging, care, and attention to one another. Today, we focus on the power of listening deeply. Together, we will practice what it means to truly hear one another, to notice the subtleties of presence, and to attune ourselves to the sacred, quote, thrumming of God, unquote. I'm going to unpack that. And if you're uncomfortable with that term, hold on to that discomfort. Okay? Through reflection and sharing an attentive conversation, we'll explore how listening transforms both ourselves and the world that we are hoping to build together.
Our opening song today is Come, Come, Whoever You Are. And so I invite you to rise in body your spirit. And we have Marcia and Ev song leading. And Brandis is going to song lead as well. So this is a round, which means that the singer is here with me on this side. We're group 1. Okay, the singer's in front of Marcia, group 2. Group 3 is Ev. Group 4 is Brandis. We're going to sing this all the way through twice in unison so you can get the hang of it. And then we're going to start the round with 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here we go. All right. Come, come, whoever you are. 4. Wanderer, we go. Lover of leaving, caravan of despair. Come, come, whoever you are. Wanderer, whoever you are. Wanderer, caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan, whoever you are. Wanderer, whoever you are. Wanderer, caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan, whoever you are. Wanderer, whoever you are. It's a 4. Caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan, whoever you are. Wanderer, whoever you are. It's a 4. Caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan, whoever you are.
Good morning. My name is Pam Rickey. I've been a Unitarian for about 35 years or so, and a member of this congregation since 2016. I'm going to start with the chalice lighting. The chalice lit amongst us is a beacon of hope in a world of crisis, a beacon of possibility made manifest in community, a beacon of warmth through our interconnections, a beacon of light illuminating our shared wisdom, a beacon of connection by our being together.
May your mind be be open to new learning. May be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into this world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
Now's the time for our offering. The purpose of the church is to encourage all who gather here to grow more generous in spirit and in action. This is the great end of all the world's faith traditions, to bring the human being closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. We now take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that will support this self-supporting church and its many ministries. First-time visitors, please let the basket pass you by, as your presence is a gift to us all today. Each month, we give a portion of our offering to an organization in the larger community. For the month of October, our For Others recipient is Calgary Center for Newcomers. Their vision is to support newcomers and the receiving community in the larger community united. For the month of October, our For Others and initiatives is Calgary Center for Newcomers. Success. Their vision is to support and that foster a welcoming and the receiving community in the larger. If this is where you'd like to direct for the month of October, please indicate for initiatives in the memo of the envelopes. Their vision is to support and that foster a welcoming and the receiving or in your e-transfer. If this is where you'd like to direct the month of October, please indicate for. Feel free to come forward. Lighting candles on the side of their vision is to support and that foster welcoming and the receiving candle, or drop a petal. If this is where you'd like to direct the month of October, joy or sorrow, you feel free to come forward. The gifts of the congregation will now be most grateful and foster welcoming and the receiving candle, or drop a petal. If this is where you'd like to direct the month of October, joy or sorrow, you feel free to come forward. The gifts of the congregation will now vision is great and foster welcoming and the receiving candle.
There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's there's a river flowing in my soul, there's a river my soul, there's a
We have a little tradition here at Calgary Unitarians where every once in a while we turn to somebody next to us and engage in a conversation. So we're going to do that now. I'm going to invite you, or if you're online, you're going to get sent into a Zoom room or breakout room. Turn to the person next to you and share a moment when you were truly heard, or when you listened deeply and how that transformed you. We'll take about 3 minutes for this. Hello? All right, folks, I'm going to ask you to pretend you're in a Zoom room, and bam, the room just closed, and here you are in the main room. No, we're not good. Waiting for the Zoom room. It's counting down. Okay. We have to wait for our Zoom folks to join us because it's so important that they're here. We're good to go? Yes? 30 seconds. Oh, and you were so good about stopping your conversations. Don't worry, I'm going to give you another opportunity, and there's always coffee hour, just saying. So I don't know if you remember, last spring, Christian offered a reflection at one of our Sunday services, and it was a deeply personal and moving reflection. And he mentioned a phrase that stayed with me throughout the summer. And that phrase was, listening for the thrumming of God. So the Reverend Brian Kiley is a dear friend of mine and a colleague, and he says, when you use the word God in a Unitarian Universalist congregation, you need to unpack that, and you need an introductory paragraph about what you're talking about. So if God works for you, great. If it doesn't, think about it as good, orderly direction. We are referring to something that is unnameable. And sometimes God is just the shortest form that we can come up with something that is indescribable. So know that when I'm using that word in this service, and you're going to hear it a lot because it is about the thrumming of God. That's the phrase that really stayed with me. And as I move back into a deeper sense of my own personal spiritual practice this summer, remember, I ask us all to have one, and that means I also have to have one. I began to sense that listening for this thrumming asks us to notice how we hear one another. That subtle, sacred vibrations beneath the surface of our everyday interactions. It calls to us to witness presence, attention, and care, and to notice how they transform our communities and our relationships. In our Unitarian Universalist theology, we understand the divine or God or the sacred as not distant but present in the connections between us, in the web of relationships that sustain our lives. Listening, then, becomes a spiritual practice of honoring those connections, of bearing witness, of nurturing the life of our community with presence and attention. For the Quakers, this listening is not found in words, but in silence, an attentiveness to spirit that asks us to pause, to still ourselves and open our hearts. The silence is never empty. It is a fertile space where connection can grow, where every voice is honored. Rumi reminds us there is a voice that doesn't use words. Listen. Listening this way is more than hearing. It is an opening of the heart and mind to what is alive, subtle, and often overlooked in the lives around us. It is an invitation to notice what others carry, to meet them with presence and curiosity. Thomas More suggests that quote-unquote soul work happens when we slow down and attend to the poetry of ordinary life, to dreams, moods, and those longings that sometimes go unnoticed. In this community, it means noticing the small gestures, the quiet words, the quiet care, reminding us that tending the sacred in one another is an ongoing practice that strengthens our relationships and deepens the life of the community. Mia Birdsong takes us further, teaching that listening is not only spiritual, it's political. She says, we cannot build beloved community if we cannot hear the truths of those we have ignored. Deep listening creates the conditions for solidarity, not just sympathy. It asks us to turn to the voices we might otherwise overlook, to honor experiences different from our own, and to cultivate a community rooted in justice, empathy, and hope. Listening in this way requires courage, the courage to hear truths that discomfort us, the humility to acknowledge our blind spots, and the commitment to respond with care and action. The thrumming of God calls us to preserve, to notice, to receive, and to respond, not only inwardly, but in relationship with one another. Through these rhythms to attention, to ourselves and to each other, listening transforms both our inner lives and the lives of the communities in which we are a part. Sacredness is woven into the patterns of communal life, and by listening well, we participate in creating connection, care, mutual flourishing. And that is what I'm asking us to notice today, the power of being deeply heard. Listening can change us. It can open us in other ways that words alone cannot. To bring this to life, I'd like to invite Pamela to share a story of a time when she was deeply listened to, a moment that reminds us of the transformation and sacred presence that listening can create.
I first encountered deep listening when I was about 11 years old with a high school counselor, or with a school counselor. I was in elementary school. Of course, I didn't know it was deep listening. I was just amazed that someone would ask if I had anything worrying me, and then listen without any interruptions, without questions about the truth of what I was saying, and without empty assurances that things would get better eventually. I hadn't asked for counseling. Our school didn't even have a counselor. I just heard my name over the intercom asking me to come to the nurse's office. When I got there, a woman I didn't know explained to me that she was someone who helped kids with problems, and she wondered if I had any problems I'd like to talk about. Obviously, I must have been doing something to get someone's attention. I don't know. I was surprised. But as a matter of fact, I did have some stuff going on at home, and I wouldn't mind talking about it. I told her about the situation in a sentence or two, and then waited to see what advice she might give me. Instead, she asked me to tell her more. So I gave her some more information. She asked me how I was feeling about what was going on. I was surprised at how much came pouring out as she encouraged me to keep talking. As though a dam had broken, a torrent of fear and sadness washed out of me and into the open air. The relief after it all came out was extraordinary. And when I cried, all she did was silently pass me a box of Kleenex. To this day, I can remember how light I felt as I walked back to my classroom.
Pamela's story reminds us of the power of being truly heard, how life-changing it can be when someone gives us their full attention, not interrupting, not judging, not trying to fix things, but simply listening. In that space, we are recognized, valued, validated, and made lighter. In that quiet process, a little piece of the sacred can shine through. And as we gather, we remember the invitation of our opening hymn, "Come, come, whoever you are." Each of us bringing our own light. And together we create a brightness that is far greater than any one of us could do on our own. In this circle, our lives, our joys and our sorrows, our hopes are woven together, each presence adding to the whole. And so we begin by lighting a candle for the joys that lift our spirit in the delight of daily life, the love of family and friends, and the wonder of connection. These joys are the subtle thrumming of God in our lives, calling us to notice and celebrate with one another. And we also light a candle for the sorrows that we carry, in our hearts. Please keep a friend of Pamela's in your hearts as she struggles with chronic pain. And September 28th, on this day, is the day that has finally arrived, thanks to the years of work of Jocelyn Keith Asante et al. For the mural. And we are delighted that it's there. I messed up. It should have been in the joys. Please forgive me. These sorrows that weigh on our heart, the grief and the loss, the illness, the uncertainty, and the inner struggles that each one of us have, are welcome in this circle. And in the circle, we practice deep listening, not just with our ears, but with our hearts, as we witness the sacred in one another. And finally, we light a candle for the global world, for those whose voices are ignored or silenced, for communities facing injustice, and for the earth herself, whose rhythms remind us to attune. This candle calls us to extend our listening beyond ourselves, to turn toward the unknown, and to respond with care and courage and hope. May these lights guide us into the rest of our service, carrying the awareness of the thrumming of God, the sacred vibrations of presence, attention, and care. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. We say to bring your whole self here, your questions and your longings and your joys and your sorrows. So acknowledge that in yourself and let your attention settle into stillness. Remember a time that you were truly heard, when you listened deeply. Notice how it shaped your presence and your care and your openness. Notice the subtle rhythms around you, the quiet signals, the small gestures, the sacred stirring of your heart. Let this awareness guide how you attend to others, our community, and the wider world. What voices have you been avoiding? What might open if you turned toward them? How would it shape the way you listen and respond? Imagine our community as a space of deep listening. What might shift if we approached one another with curiosity and care and attentiveness? Feeling how the practice transforms not only what you notice, but how you notice it in others. So I invite you to sit with this awareness for the next 2 minutes. Let the stillness or the thrumming of God be your companion. And after the 2 minutes are up, we'll be brought out of silence with Christian singing our hymn number 3, Christian, Ev, and Marcia singing our hymn 352, Find a Stillness. You can let the music and the song wash over you and bring you back, or you can join in singing hymn 352 in our gray hymnal. The words will be projected. Let us enter the reverent space of silence.
find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. In the spirit, find the silence, find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. In the spirit, find the silence, find a stillness, the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me follow the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me follow the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me follow the essence, hold the essence.
Hold that feeling that you have right now and turn to someone different and have that same conversation. Share a time, a moment when you were truly heard or when you were truly listened to and how that transformed you. We'll do that for 3 minutes. Find someone different. And the Zoom room is now closing, and wouldn't you know it, bang, in the middle of your sentence, you've been popped into the main room. I must tell you, this is much easier to do than before the pandemic. We have a sense of what that is like when we get stopped in mid-sentence and brought into the... So what did you notice between the first conversation you had and the second conversation? Was there a difference? Shout it out. Let me hear. Not really? Oh, okay. What? Pardon? No difference. Okay.
Yes.
What was the difference?
Reflecting after Pam's reflection, and when something like that first happened for me in Paula, unfortunately it wasn't when I was 11.
For those of you online, Ev was just sharing that Pam's reflection put her in mind of another situation, and that deepened that sense. How about others? It's pretty quiet, okay. These conversations that we have with each other, they remind us that deep listening is more than a skill. It is a practice, a turning towards something essential yet often hidden. And please, we have a new listening circle starting up on Monday night. We need people to attend. And if listening is something that you feel like you could develop that skill, need to develop that skill a bit more, Tanya, are you in the room? She's in the back. She's waving her hand. She would love some people to join her tomorrow night for a listening circle, because these are the spaces that call us to trust, to surrender, to be fully present for one another, even when the words are difficult or the truth we hear is challenging. It is in those quiet moments of attention with each other, when we take the time to slow our breath, that we create the space for what is subtle and sacred and transformative to emerge. In our Unitarian Universalist understanding, as I said, this divine is not distant. It is alive. It is alive in the connections between us. When we listen deeply, we honor the threads of relationship, nurturing the sacred in each other and strengthening the life of our community. To attune ourselves to the divine thrumming is to move into a countercultural rhythm. In a world that prizes noise, distraction, self-interest, deep listening asks us to pause, to notice, to open our hearts. It is a gift that we offer ourselves and each other, a commitment to presence over production, attention over convenience, connection over separation. Listening that way grounds us, opens us up to a space for reflection, strengthens the bonds of care. So when we're attuned to the thrumming of God, it shapes how we hear each other. We learn interdependence, humility, and hope. As I mentioned, Mia Birdsong reminds us that listening is both a spiritual act and a political act. Deep listening calls us to meet others with courage, to honor experiences different from our own, and to respond with empathy. It not only transforms what we notice, but how we notice. And in so doing, our own community can only strengthen our lives, this community, and the world that we wish to co-create. So as we prepare to lift our voices together, let us carry this intention forward, attentive, caring, courageous, listening, into our hymn. And as you sing, notice how the act of singing becomes an extension of this listening to the words, to the music, to the sacred vibrations that connect us all. So please rise, embody your spirit, and sing our hymn 1074. You can find it in our teal hymnal as well. The words will be projected.
We come from the fire, living in the fire. Go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water. Go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain. Go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water. Go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, so is life. So turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water. Go back to the water, turn the world around. See, we one another life. So turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water. Go back to the water, turn the world around. See, we one another life. Whoa, so is his life. Whoa, so is his life. Water, whoa, so is his life. Whoa, so is his life. Water, whoa, so
That is such a fun song to sing. Go now, my dear ones, attuned to the thrumming of God, carrying the sacred vibrations of presence, attention, and care wherever you go. Listen deeply to yourself, to one another, to the world, and let what you hear transform your heart. Go now with courage and compassion, turning toward voices that need to be heard, lifting up those who have been overlooked, and speaking love, justice, and hope in every space you enter. Go as a blessing in this world, a living reflection of the connection that sustains us all. And may your presence ripple outward, bringing light, care, and joy to every life you touch.
Can you hear me now, Robert? I don't think so. How's this? Okay. And now we take our leave. In the time we are apart, may each of us bring happiness into another's life. May we each be surprised by the gifts that surround us. May each of us be generous with the gifts we have for others. And may we remain together in spirit until the hour we meet again. As we extinguish our chalice, let's raise our hands to clasp a spark and hold it to our hearts, holding our community close while we're physically apart. Just a few words to finish up today at noon in room 4 downstairs. we launch Deepening Our Faith, a new series from the membership committee. On first Sundays, we'll explore different parts of congregational life. Today's focus is theology and worship. All are welcome. Don't have to be a member, anybody's welcome. Next Sunday, Leslie Baker from the Grandmothers Advocacy Network will speak on child hunger. On this Thanksgiving Sunday, we give thanks for our blessings while opening our hearts to the reality of child food poverty here and around the world. Online friends, your Zoom link for conversation and connection is in the chat. Those here in person, please head over to Wickenden, right across the way here, for coffee and conversation after the postlude plays. And now let's wave to everyone online. Hey, Zoom. Postlude plays. And now let's wave to everyone online.
Every soul,
Hey, Zoom.
some brightly burning, some dark and cold.
Welcome. Please.
There is a
And now
spirit
let's wave to everyone online.
who brings a
Hey, Zoom.
fire, some brightly lights a candle, some dark makes it
Welcome.
cold.
Please.
So carry your candle, run to the darkness, seek out the candle, some confused and told.